Good evening, America. Special news bulletin to all Indiana residents and the American public seeking a president and vice president of the United States in this coming election. Donald Trump has chosen or may choose as his vice president running mate Indiana Governor Mike Pence, who cannot and is illegal to be a candidate because of imposed slavery that he has concealed from the American public committed by the Indiana judicial system. Here is a statement from the Indiana office of the governor. That's right, Mike Pence. Proclamations were provided by the governor's office as a service to Indiana residents with the goal of honoring and celebrating events or increasing awareness, remember that, of noteworthy issues among citizens across Indiana. Now you tell me, prohibition of slavery to blacks in general, whose ancestors were slaves. How is it that Indiana is imposing slavery by the judicial branch of government, is specifically excluding blacks from the jury pool? Here are the transcripts of such instance. It says, at this point, there is no black people in the jury, and there were no black people in the jury panel. I can tell you, I don't believe the law will support it. My attorney, Dennis Viles, my client objects to the fact that none of the veneer nor the jury are black. He and that is based upon an assertion that he is entitled to a jury of his peers. The component of race should be included in the concept of peer. The fact that there are no black people in this veneer, I think, causes the jury not to be a jury of my client's peers. Now, as you will see, Judge David Kiely overrules the federal and the state constitution and its 14th Amendment as mandatory. Means mandatory, you must do this. And if you take a citizen's freedom without being duly processed, you violate the 13th and the 14th Amendment, which abolish slavery. Here, as I showed you, the governor of Indiana was told this, and by proclamation to inform the Indiana residents of the government imposing slavery on blacks again. And here's what he does. By that, I don't think Indiana is in full compliance with the federal government's motor voter registration law. As a result of that, we don't get a fair cross-section in the veneer. And as a result of that, my client's rights under the federal and state constitution to a fair and impartial jury, as mandated through the 14th Amendment and through the federal legislation, I think that's been violated. So, for the record, I make that argument. Judge David Kiely says, show it overruled. I say, there is a violation, Your Honor. He says, show it overruled, sir. Everybody in America, pay attention. This man has just overruled the federal and the state constitution of the United States of America. This, Mike Pence has concealed from the government imposed slavery by the court system of the state of Indiana. He cannot be a candidate for concealing this corruption, and it even violates the state constitution. He can no longer be a candidate. Mr. Trump, you must find another candidate. All Indiana residents, take notice. This is the kind of government that they plan on running. I'm going to tell you how they do this. Indiana. Senator Veneta Becker, as you will see once again, sent in a resolution on my behalf. And on that resolution, she states, whereas current United States Code does not prescribe or guarantee any particular composition for grand or petit juries based on the defendant's race or color. What she just did was say that we are not guaranteed the right to have our own people on the jury. What that does is makes blacks once again second-class citizens. That's what that does. That is what the Indiana senator did, and they violate the 14th Amendment. Now, the 14th Amendment was made because before, blacks were not given the right to due process. Therefore, the implemented 14th Amendment to the Constitution as guaranteed by the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights which government must protect. It even is against Indiana's Constitution, but they did it anyway. That right there went to the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court, where this is their stamp and seal. Irrefutable evidence that they cannot deny. Petition entitled to injunctive relief for my immediate relief from the illegal imprisonment with reparation for judgment of the proceedings in the Indiana Vanderburgh Circuit County Court that was so lawless that imprisonment pursuant to them is void, and therefore res judicata is inapplicable in a habeas corpus. The imprisonment cannot be shown to conform with the fundamental requirements of due process. Irreparable harm has occurred and the prosecutor's use of perjured testimony, and therefore the petitioner is entitled to his immediate release. Now, the entitlement to the immediate release is abuse of power by the United States Supreme Court. How come the media didn't pick this up? They done made a deal with the government. They want exclusively to have the discretion to put on broadcast whatever they want. Here you see, once again, Section 9, Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. Powers denied to the federal government. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be avoided. You must. It is in the Constitution that you must address the habeas corpus, because the habeas corpus, we as Americans must have a guaranteed right to freedom. How and we got that right to freedom? Constitution never would have been ratified unless we got a right to freedom. And how do we get that? Through the habeas corpus. That is used when a citizen is held in violation of the Constitution and the laws of the United States. Now, as I said, all Indiana residents, the media take immediate notice. Donald Trump take immediate notice. Indiana Governor Mike Pence cannot be a candidate for the Vice President of the United States, as he has concealed slavery from the citizens of the Indiana, and they have been imposing slavery in violation of the 13th and the 14th Amendments. Take immediate notice, everybody. We cannot have this as part of our government. As a matter of fact, they must address the Constitution's checks and balances. The checks and balances, they clean up the government, check the United States Supreme Court for corruption, as I have just showed you. Now, in showing you this, if the United States Supreme Court, and we all do, had made a mistake, if you do it twice, it's intentional. They have no intentions of complying with the demands of the constitutions and the rights of a black man's freedom in America. Therefore, here we go again. Filed in the United States Supreme Court. Petition requires judiciary to account for a man's imprisonment. The judiciary or the justices of the Supreme Court which must review and give judgment affirming or reversing the conviction. The petitioner's restraint is in violation of the Constitution and the laws of the United States and filed a writ of habeas corpus. Remember, this is a power denied government so that we can secure our right to freedom. They committed an act against the law, remanding me to the illegal, unconstitutional, imposed slavery by the Indiana government. United States Supreme Court is corrupt. So now, take a bigger look at this picture. How do they shoot us blacks on the street? Because they know that the entire branch of government is corrupt, and them being together, they know they're not going to be held accountable because they all corrupt. So they're not worried about killing a black man because they're not going to be held accountable. But once again, as I state, Donald Trump, all America, all Indiana residents, pay attention. The governor of Indiana has concealed slavery from the Indiana residents imposed by the Indiana officials. You can find this, go on blog, you can either Google my name, Jesha Miller, that's JESHAMILLER, or INGOV Mike Pence refuses proclamation.blogspot.com. And there you will see the governor of Indiana has concealed, imposed slavery from the Indiana residents, a corrupt government that they're running in Indiana. Economical exploitation. I've given it to you. Now you have the truth. We must move on it. Thank you very much.